say thank you. Thank you. So just want to say welcome. My name is Clayton Greaves, and I'm the Director for Diversity, Equity, and Inclusion at Family and Children's Services here in Waterloo region. And just want to get an opportunity to thank all of you for coming this evening as we talk about our service model. Community and community connection is very important to us and the work that we do, particularly in the field of child welfare, as we are looking to reimagine how the work is done and how the work is done specifically for Black and racialized families. And the steps that we're taking here in Kitchener-Waterloo in terms of reimagining the work is very excited for all of us who are involved. And I just wanted to take an opportunity to share the beginnings of that work and how we've anchored the work that we want to do with families. And so just want to get an opportunity to share with you and provide community an opportunity to speak into some of the things that we'll be talking about with regards to how we want to work with Black families. Up front, I just want to recognize that, as a sector at child welfare, we have not done well in terms of working with Black and racialized families in all of, child welfare. And we're hoping to change that and finding the right way of how do we engage and do the work that needs to be done. And so this is what tonight is all about, is talking about that work and how we believe the work should be done, and wanting to invite community into a conversation with us to share their thoughts, their feelings, and so forth. And so I want to pause from there with regards to introduction and just wanted to acknowledge everyone who is here. I just want to give folks an opportunity to introduce themselves. It's not a whole lot of us. There's about 20 of us, and I'm going to ask folks to just take 30 seconds just to introduce who they are, their name, so we know who you are. And if you're representing an organization in the community, that would be great, and so forth. And also, I have some folks on here who's part of the team, and just a quick introduction, your name and your position, what you do for the agency folks, that will be great. And so I'm just going to go alongside my participation list and just go by alphabetical, and we'll just introduce yourself quickly as I come to you. And so importantly, who's going to be my right hand for today is Carol. Just want to introduce yourself, Carol.
Sorry, I had to unmute myself. Hi, everybody. My name is Carol. I'm the executive assistant for the executive office and also for the foundation board and for Clayton and Jill Stoddard.
Thank you, Carol. I have Anthony next.
Hello, my name is Anthony Ruddock. I'm an investigator for Family and Children's Services when it comes to child abuse and child neglect. I've been working with the agency for the past 21 years now.
Thank you, Anthony. Charmaine.
Hi, everyone. My name is Charmaine Lane, and I would say I'm a cultural consultant with Waterloo, a registered psychotherapist, and a consultant with the agency. I think that's my role, right, Clayton?
Sure. Absolutely. Debbie.
Hi, my name's Debbie Engel. My pronouns are she, her, and I am a director of community services for Corizon.
Thank you, Debbie. Welcome. I believe we have Geraldine. Thanks.
Sorry, guys, I'm on the road.
That's fine. Be safe.
Yeah, so I'm on the road. I'm just kind of stopping up. Yeah, so my name is Geraldine. I'm a family services worker working with Toronto Children's Society.
All right, welcome, Geraldine.
You're welcome. So I'm gonna be off video, but I'm gonna be listening in.
All right, that's perfectly fine. Just make sure you drive safe.
Thank you.
We have Grace, that's next.
Clayton, Grace is having trouble hearing you. I'm just going to send her a message so that she can introduce herself.
Okay, sure.
Yes, just one moment.
Okay, while Grace is being sorted out, Jackson was next. I have Jackson introduce himself.
Hello, my name is
Hello.
Jackson Lukundo. Oh,
Can you hear me?
Yeah, we can hear you now, Grace. Just hold for a second, Jackson. Go ahead, Grace. We were just asking folks just a quick introduction of themselves. Who is here, if you don't mind. Did we lose Grace?
No, she's still here. Let's give her 1 second.
Sure.
Okay, she's left the meeting. I just guess she's going to try and log back in.
Sure, that's fine. Sorry, Jackson. Go ahead, and we'll continue going.
yeah, technology sometimes has its own faults. This is one of it. Yes. So my name is Jackson Lukundo. I'm new with the agency. I came specifically to be on this team. So I'm an ongoing service worker for the Waterloo Family and Children Services, and I'm happy to be here today.
Thank you, Jackson. We have Leiko.
Hi, I'm Leiko Wilson. I work at Family and Children's Services as the Supervisor of Quality Improvement and Evaluation. And I'm here to support any way I can. Thank you.
All right, excellent. We have Medit, that's next.
Hello, my name is Medith Radland, and I'm a retired elementary school principal I was with the public board, and now I've been involved in equity in the community for 30 plus years, and now I'm part of the anti-racist advisory committee for the region, and I'm also part of the Equity and Inclusion Advisory Committee for the Public Board. So Peter over there, who is about to introduce himself, and I work a lot together.
All right, awesome. Thank you. Welcome, Edith. I see Grace came back. Hopefully your technology issues is a lot better. Do you want to just take a second to introduce yourself, Grace? All right. I thought I saw Grace. She's gone again.
Yes.
Okay. Grace eventually we'll figure it out. Megan.
Hi, everybody. Thank you for having me. I'm Megan Snyder, and I am the Early Years Coordinator at Our Place Family Resource and Early Years Center. Thank you.
Awesome. Welcome. We have Michelle with 1L.
Good evening, everyone. Nice to see you. Thank you for being here this evening. My name is Michelle Hosu. I'm one out of the 2 supervisors of our Harambee team, and I also do equity work within the organization as well.
Okay, welcome. Thank you. We have Natalie.
Hi, everyone. My name is Natalie Prasad. I'm an investigation worker with Family and Children's Services. And prior to here, I did the same work in Toronto Children's Aid for several years.
All right, excellent. Thank you. We got Peter.
Good afternoon, everyone. It's Peter Rubenchu, Superintendent with the Waterloo Region District School Board. I'm one of the leads with the Indigenous Equity and Human Rights Department. Nice to meet you.
Thank you, Peter. Welcome. We got Kwame.
Greetings, everyone. My name is Rudy Kwame Williams, and I am a consultant on the project. I come from 10 years of experience with Ujima House, Young and Potential Fathers in Toronto. That started off as a pilot project with the Toronto CAS, but have a up and running program that we do. So I hope to bring some experience to the project. Thank you.
Excellent. Thank you, Kwame. Rose.
Hello, everyone. I'm so sorry I'll not be able to show my face. I'm going through some code, so I had to shut down a little bit. Hi, my name is Rose. I'm the administrative assistant for African Family Revival Organization, also known as AFRO, which is actually a grassroots non-governmental organization serving the Black and African communities living in the Waterloo region. And it's good to meet everyone. Thank you.
Awesome. Thank you. Welcome. We have Ziska.
Hi, everyone. I'm Ziska Finley, and I am one of the supervisors of Harambee team and have been with Family and Children's Services here in Waterloo for 18 years.
Thank you, Ziska. Welcome. Yvonne, you're on mute. The
I
dreaded
was
mute button.
busy giving all my raps when I'm on mute. So hello everybody. My name is Yvonne Asari Bediako, Research Coordinator, Family and Children's Services. It's exciting to be here.
All right, excellent. Welcome, Yvonne. I believe I saw Kathy Hogarth came on. You just want to take a second to just introduce yourself. Thank you.
Hi, everyone. I'm Kathy Hogarth. I am a professor in social work at the University of Waterloo.
All right, excellent. Thank you for coming be here. Neil is another worker that's on the team. He is juggling family life and not able to come on and say hello. So I'm saying hello on the behalf of Neil. And I believe I got everyone else. Carol, could you let me know if Grace came back? Just wanted to acknowledge her. If not, we'll just move on.
Can I one word here, Clayton?
We got one more. Danny, sorry, my apologies, Danny.
No, I don't want to miss this great opportunity. I'm so happy to see everybody. My name is Danny Deneke Ashtinaki. I am an ongoing child protection worker with Family and Children's Services of the Waterloo region. I'm also serve as a board member to the Ethiopian Association. So I'm so happy to see everybody here. Thank you.
Awesome. Thank you, Denny. Are we good to move forward, Carol? Is Grace or anyone else?
Forward. I don't think Grace has come back on. Perhaps she will later.
All right, excellent. So thank you everyone for your quick introduction. I recognize the wealth of knowledge that's here on this call. We have some elders, we have some knowledge keepers, people who are directly in the field doing the work on the team here at the agency, and our community partners. Welcome all. And so I just want to get right into it right now. And so Carol, am I able to share my screen?
Yep, you can share your screen.
All right, excellent. Just bear with me as I share my screen. I'll be just going to go into the meat of things right now. All right. And so are we using a Jamboard today, Carol?
Yes, we are.
Okay. And so the Jamboard, Carol, if you don't mind, just explain to folk what the Jamboard is and how they could participate in that.
Jamboard is just like an online Post-it note, really. So you'll be able to click on the Post-it notes. I'm going to put the link to the Jamboard in the chat, and everybody can just click on that link and it will take you to the Jamboard. And when you get to the Jamboard, you just choose the Post-it note. You type in your comment or whatever feedback you have, and it will be placed on the Jamboard for all of us to see.
Yeah, so if you don't mind, just send that link right now, Carol,
Sure.
and folks could just do that on their end as we get going. I am not able to see your hand as you're rated, so Carol is going to be identifying hands and help me with comments that folks want to say something. The Jamboard is also a way of making comments, and at the end of the presentation, we can come back and have more in-depth conversation with regards to any comments or question folks have. And so just wanted to say that as we get going. get going into this. All right. So the overview we're going to be talking about today. Forgive me if I'm a little bit nervous with all the folks here. You know, I feel like this is the first time I'm talking about this, but it's not. It's been a passion for myself and the team, and just eager to share with you folks the work that we've been doing with the agency. And so, in terms of just a quick overview, we're going to talk about One Voice, One Vision, and to the future with regards to the work. Get into some background of the whys with regards to our agency. Talk about the purpose of our team name, our philosophy from which we work, and the cultural framework. We're going to get into the principles and what governs who we are. And so in terms of One Vision, One Voice, so September 29, 2016, through the guidance and leadership of African Canadian Community, One Vision, One Voice program launched the practice framework comprised of research report and race equity practice September 2020. And so for folks who are interested in the work that is being done with regards to One Vision, One Voice, OACAS, you know, it's easy access to that information on the website of OACAS, and really speaks to about an acknowledgement of the work and how the work can be done, and the issues with regards to child welfare and as it relates to service to Black and racialized folks. And so One Vision, One Voice officially came on board with regards to the research and outlining some priorities. And so with regards to that, in September 2020, the ministry announced funding for part 3 in terms of promising practices and implementation of a toolkit. And so from 2020 till now going forward, from out of One Vision, One Voice, there was 11 race equity practices, which OACS brought to our field of practice in with regards to how can we support the work and acknowledging the overrepresentation of Black children in care. And so this is just some of the background information that has led us to where we are right now. And so our agency data also continues to highlight disparity of Black and racialized children, youth, and family, many of whom are new immigrants in our system. As such, a leadership team, board of directors supported the creation of a service team that will service the unit needs of these families. And Leiko, please correct me if I'm wrong, but the overrepresentation in terms of for Black children in care, it's currently at 3 or 3.5 times more so. If you're a Black child, you'll be involved in child welfare versus a white child. Is that correct, Leiko?
It's about 2.7 in disproportionality, and then for disparity, much higher. I'll look it up right now.
All right, awesome. And so, you know, the agency recognized that it's a real issue. And this is the conversation that's happening throughout child welfare right now, with overrepresentation of Black children in the care of child welfare. And so a lot of that information was highlighted through the work of One Vision, One Voice. And as it relates to our particular region and in other areas of the province, you know, those numbers will vary, depends on what community you come from. But, you know, these numbers that I'm talking specifically is in our Kitchener-Waterloo area. And so with the acknowledgement of that and the creation of the service team, our service team is called Harambee. And Harambee is a Swahili word that means all pulled together. And so many of you in community will recognize this word. And you know, the power that comes along with this word. You know, we wanted to claim something that's grounded in an African thought for ourselves, and also speak to the work that we want to do and how we want to do the work. And one of the most important things for us as a team was establishing our identity and claiming the opportunity to name ourselves. We just did not want to be an anti-Black or African, Canadian, Caribbean team that works with Black family. We want to, from the onset, from claiming our name, be grounded in principles and an identity that we all can connect. And everyone on the team, all pull together. That's our focus, and that's the strength and the foundation of our team. And when we and that collaboration, it is powerful and has been the key to our success thus far. And all pulled together, it resonates that when we as a community, when we as Black folks pull together, there are beautiful things that we can do. There's powerful things that we can do. And there isn't a lot of obstacle that can stand in front of us, when we all resonate at the same frequency, and pulling together. And so that is the spirit, that is the energy that we want to bring to the table as we work with families going forward. I'm not sure if people hear, there's some noise in my background. And so we wanted to anchor our philosophy is a Pan-African in nature. It takes off the best of African thoughts and practices. One of the central tenets is that culture is fundamental source of people's identity, purpose, and direction. And so, we wanted to bring and take the best of what our communities has to offer us, and lay that as the foundation of how we engage community and how we do this work. And so that's some of the thoughts that's been anchoring the work as we go forward. And so with the creation of the team, the purpose of our team is that we want to reduce the number of Black and racialized children, youth, and families involved in child welfare, reduce the number of Black and racialized children in care, increase the collaboration of Black identified association services, immigrant services. And that's one of the goals and a part of the reason why we're here tonight is that we want to work collaboratively with community. Increase collaboration with local immigration, faith-based and settlement organization, support the implementation of One Vision, One Voice and the practices. And like I said, you can get that information on OACAS website, specifically about the 11 race equity practices. Ensure that children, youth, and family receive culturally relevant and appropriate services. Develop an Afrocentric service model in collaboration with Black service organizations. Understand immigrant mental health and settlement issues. Develop relationship with PLCS, Child Welfare Immigration Center, immigration and child welfare issues. And I continue with educating regarding anti-Black racism, anti-immigrant settlement, religious discrimination, and all their intersectionalities going forward. And so you hear me talk a lot with regards to collaborations that we want to do and have with community. And for those of us who are not part of the KW community, just to say that, we have a high number of new Canadians and immigrants in the area. It's a settlement area for folks coming to Canada, refugees, new immigrants to Canada. And so that also is part of the work that we do on this team as well. And so the focus of the work is threefold, is three things. One, it's all about engagement, how we engage families, because without engagement, we cannot get the work done. And so engagement is a big part of the work and a big part of the investment that we do as an agency, particularly as this team. And why this team was created is how do we engage the Black community? And after we're engaged with our clients, our goal is to empower individuals so we can work through whatever the challenges are that brought them to us in the first place. And as we empower our clients, and we'll get through how we do so, we want to support. We want to take a step back and we want to support people. And this is different languages for those of us who've been in child welfare for a while, different languages that we're speaking now. And for this particular team, we find a lot of value in terms of, reclaiming the words and how we want to approach community with regards to the work that we want to do. And so the team, and you've heard several members introduce themselves who are here, and they'll share their own story later on about the work on the team. So we have 2 supervisors, we have 2 children's service workers and resource workers. We have 2 equity leads. We have 2 family community workers. We have 4 workers who do investigation assessment, and we have 5 ongoing workers. And also just want to say that the beauty of our team is that we represent 11 different countries, and we speak 15 different languages on our team here. And so I just want to let you know how our team is comprised. And the goal is that we're not looking to create an all-Black team, but a team that has a lot of diversity, because we want the team to reflect the community that we live in. And so this is what our team look like, and you'll get to meet firsthand some of the members later on. And so we want to get into 7 principles, the Nguzo Saba. That is what is grounded our team. And many of you are thinking right now, number one, you've not heard about the Nguzo Saba, which is fine. We'll introduce those concepts. But for those of you who are already of the Nguzo Saba, how does this relate and connect to service delivery? And so I'll be exploring that with you as we go through the presentation. And for those of you who don't know, the 7 principles are essentially standards of personal social excellence, directing towards building and sustaining community, strengthening and maintaining community capacity to define itself. And so essentially what the Nguzo Saba is that Dr. Karenga, the work that he did in the 60s, look at the diaspora, look at the continent, and pulled out the best of what our community has to offer. What is it that really strengthened, ground, bind our community, and pull those ideas out of it, and brought them to light, and ordered them into the 7 principles that we're calling Nguzo Saba. Many of you have heard some of these principles. If you're familiar with Kwanzaa, we're not here to talk about Kwanzaa specifically, but what is it that grounds that philosophy that no matter where you're from, whether it be from the continent, from the Caribbean, a North American lived experience, Canadian lived experience, these principles, as a community, you can vibrate and understand, and it resonates with you. And these principles speaks about, always first about the individual, and we're going to jump right into them right now. And so the first principle I want to go through and talk with you about, and like I said, many of you have heard these principles before, but not have heard them in the context of how do they apply to social work, how do they apply to our community from a place of service delivery. And so that's what I want to talk about, service delivery, and these principles being the foundation, being the why we want to do the work differently. And so Umoja, first principle, speaks about unity, to thrive for and to maintain unity in the family, community, nation, race. Unity stresses the importance of togetherness for family and for community, which reflects African saying, I am we, or I am because we are. And that's the Ubuntu. And for those of you who understand Ubuntu, understand the word Ubuntu and what it really means, I am because we are, speaks fundamentally about community and our identity as part of community. And so why does Umoja, and how can we use Umoja as being one of those principles for service delivery? Because Umoja first speaks about family and the importance of family to community members. And when we have a client and in front of our client, understanding that family is central, family is important, and for we as workers, if we identify with Umoja, and it's a fundamental principle in terms of our approach, we want to work from a perspective of we want to preserve family at all costs, because family is important to community. When a child can't stay in their own family, and there will be those occasions, then we expand that and we take a look at community. And, and the words that we use, we talk about the village, and that child being centered in the village. And many of you come and understand this, that in a village, all the adults in the village is responsible for the care and well-being of children. And that is the approach that we want to take with regards to the work that we do, which is fundamental different from the system that we're currently kicking against, we're currently involved in, where family is important. And so when a family or an individual come to our attention, there isn't this urgency to separate. There isn't this urgency to disrupt. And this has been the criticism of our current system, of how it dismantled, destroy our family. And we've seen the legacy of that with regards to how this system has treated families, Black families I'm talking about here, with regards to the work that we do. And so we recognize the value of family. We recognize the importance of community, that each family comes from a community, and there's strength in that, and recognizing that the value in, for themselves, and that I am strong because I come from a strong community. And if we support community, we're supporting the families that come from community. And further expanding that explanation, you get into nation, get into race, and so forth. And so it doesn't really matter where you come from. In terms of from the continent, the Caribbean, in Canada, a North American experience, family is important to Black folks. Family is important to us. And we want to work from a model that recognize that understand that, and we'll take that in mind with regards to any type of interventions we want to do. And we've come, we talk a lot in child welfare. We want to center the child. We are doing child protection. And oftentimes we do child protection at the cost of dismantling family. And so we want to rethink that approach. And that's why this team is, and that's why the team is here. And so Umoja answered that and is the why of how we do the work in terms of we want to preserve family. And in preserving family, we're preserving community, and so forth and so forth. Because you can't have strong communities without having strong family. So this is how Umoja works as a service principle. And all the principles I was talking about, I'm going to spend some time here because I want to lay the foundation of our go forward, is that it first needs to resonate with the worker. And for those of you who understands this principle first connects with you as an individual. And so just imagine if your worker truly understand Umoja and truly understand what family means and what community means to a community, that needs to resonate with you first. And when that resonates with you, that is changing you, that is changing your perception. And that is what we want. We want to reimagine the work, and we want to dismantle how we think about the work. And these principles help to dismantle how we've been taught as social workers in universities, in school, about how we approach community going forward. And so it resonates with the worker first. And when the worker has a firm understanding and believe in these principles, and then that's when they're ready to step into community and able to treat our community members and treat our family with the dignity and respect that is owed to them. And so, like I said, these are grounding principles of understanding oneself first. And that's what Nguzo Saba is there for, to build the individual, build the best version of ourselves. And when we have the best version of ourselves going into community, just imagine the work that can be done. This is where we should have started this work in the first place. But now we're coming back. We're going back, and the whole principle of Sankofa, we're going back and claiming those things, that we've lost as we go forward. And the Sankofa principle speaks about that. And this team, that is part of the work that we're doing in terms of looking at, what is it within our community that works well? And how can we claim that and bring that into our work to support our family? And the Nguzo Saba as a whole present us with that opportunity and also present us with the why. And I believe that this is what has been missing in the past about other service models and other way of doing the work that has been presented. It is not anchored in a philosophy and an understanding that is important to us as a community of people, as Black folks in the community. And so this resonates with us. Many of us work from a very Eurocentric, colonizing, Western philosophy, and is very comfortable with that because that's all that we've ever been taught. What I'm saying to my team is that there's an alternative way of thinking. And when you're thinking like this is how we dismantle the other way of thinking, by centering these principles and replacing them. I've had many conversations with my colleagues, and they talk about, we want to dismantle and we want to, break down the system. And I say, oh, that is great. But when you break it down, what is it that you're replacing it with? What are the ideology? What are the thoughts? What are the principles are you going to be replacing it with? And Nguzo Saba provide for us that replacement of thought and how we are approaching the work that we're doing. And so I know I've said a lot about Umoja, but I wanted us to lay the foundation of why we're using this as the foundation of our work going forward. So Umoja speaks to unity. Kujichagulia talk about self-determination, to define ourselves, name ourselves, create for ourselves, and speak for ourselves. Self-determination requires that we define our common interests, make decisions that are in the best interest of family. Again, I always come back to family and to community. Imagine our clients and the worker relationship, that the worker understand when we walk into the house, we've been taught that we are experts. We hold the knowledge. We're here to tell you how to do, when to do, and why to do. Imagine working from a perspective where we walk into a home and say that you actually are the experts of your own life, that we want you to tell us of how do we help you through your current challenges, through this current crisis, so that we can step out of it. That self-determination, Kujichagulia answers the question that self-determination is important to us as a community and will be important to when we step into a community and working with families. And that you, as the client, have a say in terms of how things unfold. And I know that, one of the things that members of our community talk about often is that the worker doesn't hear me, the worker doesn't understand me, the worker doesn't listen to me. And these are the complaints I hear coming from our community. And our approach is that we want to hear you, we want to understand you. And the Kujichagulia, self-determination, give us that perspective and understanding of that you can determine the outcome of your success. We are here to support you and provide guidance. Yes, we will have some expert knowledge about the system and how to navigate the system, but it's your life. It is your family. It is your community. And we want to empower people. After we engage, we want to empower people, empower our clients about how things are going to be shifted. And our job is there to walk alongside of you, not to lead you or determine the course, because self-determination is important. And just imagine if we be doing this work from the past of actually listening to our folks, listening to community members, listening to our knowledge keepers, about how this work should be done. And so Kujichagulia speaks to self-determination and give workers the permission to say, sit down with the client, and that I am not in my office creating these beautiful plans that we can write and telling you this is what you need to do, that we actually need to sit down with you and map out how we're going to get from A to B to Z, until we can close our file and say we no longer need to be involved because you know what? Mom got this. You know what? Dad has this. So self-determination, Kujichagulia, speaks to that and provides the why of how we do the work. Ujima, collective work and responsibility. To build and maintain our communities together, to make our brothers and sisters' problems our own. Collective work and responsibility remind us of our obligation to the past, present, and the future, and that we all have a role to play in community, society, and the world. And so let's start with the team first. As it comes to collective work and responsibility, on our team, although we may have different roles, we all support each other in the role that we do. Just because a file has been assigned to Clayton doesn't mean that Clayton is the only person. When a file comes to our team, comes to a worker from our team, they inherit a whole team. Okay, so we take a full team approach that we work, collective work and responsibility means something for us on our team. That is not just one isolated worker doing the work along with the supervisors. The whole team could be involved and we support each other. And it's the same thing when we step out of our team and into community, you know, whatever issue that present us in the life of our clients in the first place, we realize that this is not just a mom problem. This is not a dad problem. This is not just a child problem, that each person in the family has a role to play in that. And collective work and responsibility tell us that mom has her role to play, dad has her role to play, and child has that role to play. Oftentimes, you know, when we get involved with families, not understanding this, you know, we'll dump a whole bunch of expectation on mom, that mom needs to do this, dump a whole bunch of expectation on dad, dump a whole bunch of expectation on the child, and not understanding the synergy and the beauty of us working together. And as family work together, because each of them carries a piece for themselves to create family, just as is, they carry a piece in itself to resolve the issues and the solution to this. And if they don't have it, this is where community comes in. This is where our community partners comes in terms of how do we surround the village with our clients? How do we tap into the strength and the resources in the village to support our child? And so this is the perspective we come from in terms of even in community, everybody has a role to play. And we say to the parents, who is your village? Who are your village member? Who are your support? This is where we have those conversations. Who can we pull in with your consent to support you? You can't do this all by yourself. Tell me, who do we call? Do we have a granny? Do we got a grandpa? Do we have an auntie out there? Do we have a cousin? You know, do we call Uncle Joe in Jamaica or in Ghana or in the Sudan? Somebody that you can call and to provide support to you. And you define for us who's your village members and who are your support. And so the workers on the team understands that, and we work from that perspective. You know, we hear words like kin and kith. We've been doing kin services or doing that type of work long before it becomes this sexy term that child welfare use. And now I have put, you know, because when Junior was causing trouble in the home, granny, you know, mama will call granny, or we call her uncle, we call her auntie to straighten out little Junior. Or you can go live there for a little while, because where mommy is at, Junior just run around with the wrong crowd. I just need him out of here. We've been doing kin forever. This is part of the identity of who we are. I grew up with my cousins living with our own in our homes. And so this is not new to us, but Ujima answers the why. Because collective work and responsibility as a worker and how we do the work and how we service families, to how we step into the home and understanding what that means, to community and how do we pull community in to support family and the challenges that comes to family. Carol, I leave it to you to tell me if there are any questions or anything that come into the chat that I should be aware of.
Sure. Yep, I'll let you know.
All right, excellent. Moving on from Ujima. Got Ujama. So cooperative economics to build and maintain our stores or shop and other business to profit from them together. Corporate economic emphasizes our collective economic strength and encourages us to meet the common needs through mutual support. And you're saying to yourself, why, Clayton, how does this relate to service delivery? You've heard many of these systems talk about, we want to work with community. We want to support community. But, you know, we come from a perspective that if you're coming to community to glean our knowledge, to tap into the resources, you need to come with a check. And many times services like ours will tap into support from the community and not invest in community. And what I'm saying is that when our approach to the work is that, if we're tapping into resources, we want to invest in building the capacity within community. That if we want to say that we want to work with you, we want to also invest with you so we can build our capacity, because we know when we build community capacity, it's the supports that community need. Because at the end of the day, when families have issues, community should be the first place that they go to find support, not calling child welfare. And I want to recognize that child welfare at times hoard all these resources and look over there that we want to work with community and not willing to invest in the Black community. And we're seeing this story over and over and over again. And so one of the things that we've done in terms of wanting to invest in community is finding the resources in community and develop that, investing. We have a therapist that we're working with, a Black therapist. We are working with a community member to develop anti-racism training for our agency. We are working with a Black psychologist we have on retainer that we can consult with regards to the work. We're in a process of developing, finalizing our parenting program, from which we're partnering with community members, so they're part of that. And we want to invest. And so Ujamaa speaks to that when we invest in communities, we're investing in families. And when we build capacity in community, and I'm talking about real dollars here, we're investing in community. And so Ujamaa speaks to that when I'm calling upon a community member to come and share their knowledge and understanding of the work that we do, that it's not a $50 a check that we're writing them, that we're actually doing something that honors them sharing their knowledge. And I say to you as community members that if agencies are calling upon you to talk about your experience and you're rehashing your trauma and all different things, they need to respect your knowledge and treat your knowledge as I will treat anybody else, and invest in community. I think that's important, and that honors community and honors that our traditional knowledge and how we do things is also important. Our knowledge keepers for ourselves is important to us. And we want to make sure that we honor that. And that, working like this is just not just a side thing of the agency, that is actually a budget that speaks to how do we work with the Black community and what is the budget. And that's one of the first conversations I had when I came on board, in terms of how much money do I have to work with. And so Ujamaa speaks to that, investing in community. Nia, talk about purpose. To make our self-collective vocation the building and developing of our community in order to restore our people to their traditional greatness. Purpose encourages us to look within ourselves and to set up our personal goals that are beneficial to community. And like what I've said about all the other principles is that it first starts with the worker. I spoke about the purpose of our team and understanding ourselves, and that even resonates deeper in terms of workers understand, why are we doing this work? Why are you here doing this work? It challenged you first at a very personal level, because if it doesn't resonate to you at that personal level, that will never be manifested when you step into community. And so Nia speaks about purpose. Just imagine sitting down with a mom, a dad, or even young person and say to them, listen, we recognize the challenges before you right now, but you know what? What are some of the things that we can move? What are some of the things that we can do together? What are some of those personal goals? When we empower people, when we empower our clients, this is to their benefit and to benefit of community. And understanding one's purpose and understanding, sit down with a mom and say, yo, I wouldn't say yo to her, but I sit down with a mom and say, hey, what is it that you want out of this? How can we navigate this? Is it going back to school? Is it this that you want to do? Is it this that you want to do? What is your purpose? What are the things that you put aside because you end up raising children? What are the things that you've always put aside because there's always a roadblock to you getting to where you want to go? And understanding who are you really? But if you as a worker don't even understand yourself or don't even understand what vibes with us, how can you possibly have that conversation? Because a lot of times is that we only see the challenges that our clients present. We can't see beyond that. And so that is where all the labeling comes in, that you are working with the mom. Oh, she's not cooperative. She's loud. She's aggressive. Or we're not engaging. Because we truly don't understand purpose, that you're bigger, you're more than the challenges in your life. Just imagine if this was the way we were doing work in the first place, where we would be with regards to this work and addressing the harm that has been done to our community and to our children who are currently in care. And so Nia speaks to that in understanding it. Kuumba talks about creativity, to do always as much as you can in a way that we can in order to leave our community more beautiful than when we inherit it. Creativity makes us creative energies to build and maintain strong and vibrant community. We know that child welfare in our community has not left us more beautiful. In fact, it has caused harm, death, for our children, to our families, and it has not been a positive experience. And so we want to ground our involvement with a philosophy that when we enter in the life of a family, we need to make sure that we're not doing harm, and that when we walk out and when we are finished our involvement, that family is better off for us being involved than it was not. And that has not always been the case where child welfare is concerned, because we know that. That's a reality. This is why we're here. This is why we're having this conversation. Just imagine that this has always been a founding principle in the work that we do in child welfare, that we want to make sure that we're not causing more harm. And we're seeing the casualties of that. And that's why we have an overrepresentation. And in terms of the whole creative energy, this is where, I said to my team that, listen, be creative, be bold. The traditional way of doing things, think about alternative way of engagement. And this is where we're talking about in terms of how we are taught to do this work versus how we want to do the work. And many of us who's been on the front line recognize that many of us have been stifled by the imagination of our supervisors, of people who don't understand our community and making decisions for our community, which causes the harm. And there are many workers who can speak to that there are things that they want to do that they believe is going to support the community, but because of the lack of imagination from your supervisors, oftentimes white supervisors, and the power of the structure that's in place, white supremacy, don't understand this, or creates room for a worker to be creative in the work that they do with families and stifle creation. One of the first things I say to my team is that, you know what? I want you to be creative. Come with the crazy idea. We'll figure it out. I want them to bring the best version of themselves to the work, because that's where the creative juice comes in. And the more creative we are in our understanding of how we should engage community, the more successful we're going to be. So Kuumba lays that foundation and give the workers permission to be your best version of yourself, because when I have the best version of the worker, the clients and community is getting the best of what the agency has to offer and what this team has to offer. And because they're getting the best of what we have to offer, we're more apt to leave that situation in a better state than when we got there in the first place. That is the founding principle. That is the connection to service delivery. Lastly, but never least, faith. Imani. To believe with all of our hearts in our parents, our teachers, our leaders, our people, the righteousness and the victory of our struggle. Faith focusing on honoring the best of our traditions, drawing the best of ourselves, and to help us thrive for a higher level of life for humankind by affirming our self-worth, confidence in our ability to succeed and triumph in a righteous struggle. Imani just takes all those 6 principles and wrap it around and give you a big hug, because faith tells me, and I'm not talking about faith in terms of religion, so that we're clear here. And in the work that we do, we don't talk about faith because we don't believe in the people. The faith I'm talking about is the belief in the possibility of your client. Believe that your client is more than the challenges that is presented. Believe in the potential of this Black youth that is more than the trouble that he or she has got themselves in. Believe in a single mom who's struggling with her children, that she's more than the labels that our culture and our society has labeled her. Seeing the human potential, ripping away all the other layers and seeing the heart and the human potential. Just imagine if this work was done from that perspective in the first place. And that's what we're talking about here. Seeing the worth that, you know what? Yes, I know it's 5 o'clock, but you know what? Because my client calls me, I want to put in that extra time. Because we recognize that life doesn't start and stop from 8:30 till 5 o'clock. And then sometimes, you know what? Yeah, I have to hold your hand to get to someplace else. So we put in the time, put in the work, because we believe in the success of our client. So Imani, focus that. Focus all the other principles and bring them into clarity. That if we don't believe in people, if we don't even like people, and there's some workers that you meet, don't even like Black people, don't even like us, and they want to work with us, and you want me to believe that you have my best interest at heart. This is why we don't trust the system, because I don't believe you have the best interest at heart. I don't believe in your guidance, because you've demonstrated that you don't believe in me, because you only see me as this Black man who is getting into trouble, or is this, or is that. All the labels, that's all you see. You don't see me as a father. You don't see me as my heart. You don't see me as an uncle. You don't see the love in my heart for my child. You don't see my trauma or how I'm struggling. You don't see my pain. You don't see my humanity. And so Imani, as a service principle, grounds that for our team first. I don't refer to you as my file. I refer to you as who you are. Because I see humanity. I call you by name. I want to make sure that when I'm speaking with you, I get your name correct. I say, yo, so excuse me, how do you tell me how you pronounce your name? You tell me, how do I pronounce your name? How do I refer to you? I see the dignity, I see respect. Because I have faith in your potential. I have faith that you're more than what is on this paper of the referral. I have faith that, you know what, you're more than a concern from the phone call from the teacher, from the hospital, from the police. I have faith that you're more than just the struggles and your trauma that is presenting in front of me. I see you, beyond your hand flaring. I see you beyond your loud voice. I see you beyond the tears. And our system has never taken the time to see us, to see our children, to see our trauma, to see the struggle that we're experiencing. And so Imani answers the why and lay that foundation and wrap the other principles into it as a service model going forward. So in Nguzo Saba, the cultural framework for our service model, it's a framework for our team, a framework for working with people of African descent in child welfare in KW, it's the way we engage family from this perspective of how we want to do the work. And so I just want to pause here for a second to answer any questions about the principle. Then I want to save some time to get into some of the outcomes and some other things that I want to share with you in terms of how we're working and the outcomes that we're looking for, because that's also part of it that I want to share with you as a community. But I want to pause for a second. If anybody used the Jamboard or any questions that you have, you can just take yourself off mute, and or drop something in the Jamboard, and Carol could read out whatever it is. But I want to pause for a second. I've said a lot. And so for those of our guests, and I also invite some of our team members to speak into this as well. But I want to create space for our community members to ask any questions, comments, concern. You're not going to hurt my feelings, so please ask whatever is on your heart, what is in your mind, provide some clarity if there's anything that you don't fully understand. We can reason, we can talk, and then we'll get into some tools that we're looking to develop, and also some outcomes that we're working towards with regards to our service model. So who wants to be the first?
Clayton, can you please stop sharing your screen for a moment so we can see each other, and then
Sure.
maybe put it back
Sure.
on, please?
Yeah. I'll stop sharing my screen.
Thank you.
Awesome. Thank you. Question, comment? Is this new to folks? This is, ideas? Anything that you want to speak into?
Thank you for your presentation. I think this is very encouraging for our Black families, and not just for Black families. I think the approach is going to benefit all children, because
Absolutely.
I think one of the challenges of children in care is that parents generally feel unheard, and children don't always feel listened to. So thank you. And I guess my question is this an approach that is going to be used throughout the agency for all children, or only for the Black community?
And so, as far as I'm concerned, this should be the approach for child welfare in Ontario and Canada. I'll start there. But I don't have that type of clout. So this is for our team. I know that our Indigenous folks have their own service model, but as far as engaging folks and how the work should be done, I know that there's conversation from other teams other folks who are not part of our teams wanting to work like this, because they see the value of how we're talking about how we should engage. And this is really and truly an engagement model. No matter what service that you're in terms of if you're delivering service to community, to community, this should be the way we're working with folks. And so yes, we're making a push that more and more folks are part of how we do this work, but it has started here, and we're filtering this thing because a lot of folks is comfortable working from a very Eurocentric colonial type of system, but a lot of folks don't understand that, there's other ways of working with folks. And if you're working from an African-centered perspective, there's a lot of value to that as well. And so we're slowly teaching, training, encouraging folks to think like this. I hope that answers your question.
Clayton, if I could just say, one of the things that stood out to me, I think it was Nia. Is it Nia? I could be wrong.
Purpose.
It's the principle that speaks to the financial portion of it. And
Ujama.
Yes, it could have been. But one of the things that you were very clear on is that at times when Black bodies, and I did make a comment there, when Black bodies are asked to do the work, and this is very taboo, so I'm happy that this is a part of it, right? That not only, when we're asked to do the work, wherever we're called, and this, if you are on LinkedIn, if you're on other social platforms, these are some of the things that a lot of people are talking about, Black professionals especially. And we understand that in a lot of sectors, we're paid less, we know that, but a lot of times when we're called to do work in our own community, the expectation is that you're gonna do it for free. So it's usually pro bono or you're given a stipend, you know, and so I think as we think about a service model, that it's very important and it's absolutely, I think, critical that you mentioned that as a part of the service model. So therefore there aren't any, I want to say qualms, for lack of a better word, about what to expect when Black bodies are then asked. And I speak as somebody who is a consultant and are asked all the time by Black bodies and other bodies to do the work. And the expectation is that you're not being paid, right? So I think that's very important too, because then as you talk about that, our work being looked upon and being valued, right? And I think more than the finances for me is how do you value my time? And then also to, are you valuing my body, right? And my being that I'm bringing to this work as you would any other body or any other being, right? So I really like that that is actually a part of it, because I think sometimes because it's financial, we don't often speak about that part, right? So I think I really like that that was highlighted, and you spent some time speaking about that to show the importance of it and to have it woven into the service model. So I just wanted to speak to that. And finally, I also wanted to speak to, you had made a comment and I meant to put my hand up at the time, but I think it spoke to the, you know, you talk about like, you know, do you actually see me? Do you actually, and of course I'm paraphrasing, do you actually value me as a parent? And I wanted to say that a lot of times, or the reason that we even need a service model for Black and racialized bodies is because it's the implicit pieces. It's not necessarily that the parents aren't being valued, or that you don't think that they can make it or not make it or whatever else is there, but it's the implicit biases that when you go into a Black home, right? And you spoke to some of that the expectation is you are, if your hands are flaring, then you're upset, if all these things are happening, without really taking the opportunity to say, okay, as a worker, how am I approaching this? What are my own implicit biases as I'm entering in that space, right? So I think it's very important that, again, that this is in our service model, that we're saying, okay, let's check ourselves to see, and being intentional about it, right? Because sometimes we don't do it for other bodies, but when it comes to the Black body, and this is well known, you know, we can sit here wide-eyed, but it's well known that the implicit biases follows a lot of systems as we work with Black people. And so calling it in is very important, and not being afraid to say, you know what, as a worker, I'm going in with a lot of implicit bias. Even if you're Black, that can be happening as well.
Absolutely.
You know, so we want to ensure that we're checking that at the door all the time. So I think as a director, you having that leveled to say, you know what, this is a part of how we're going to do the work. We want to make sure and be intentional. I can't stress that piece enough, that when we go in to see Black people, that we're thinking about it from every single angle. And yes, it's going to be a lot more work, because then we can't just dot our I's and cross our T's. We have to then really think about, how am I working, and how am I going to handle this, by looking at all facets of it and very holistically. So thank you for that. I wanted to just say that.
Thank you, Charmaine. I just noticed there's a couple of comments in there. Carmen, you want to speak to your comment, if you don't mind? And then Debbie.
Yeah, so thank you very much, Clayton. I really appreciate the underlying theme that says that we have to meet people where they are, and that we can't, in fact, you know, even though there's a set of professional parameters that we're working with, but we have to go beyond that, and in fact not allow those what we consider to be professional parameters to define how we engage people, because we have to meet people where they are. If you go into somebody and you're culturally speaking one language and they're culturally speaking another, there's a disconnect there. And if you try to continue speaking culturally, I'm not talking about the language we speak, I'm speaking culturally, the nuances, the behavior, how you interpret what you see. There's a cultural language as well. And if you're speaking one cultural language and interpreting what another cultural language that's being spoken by a parent, then we're almost always doomed to go wrong. So we have to learn how to develop the ability to meet people where they are. And if we don't understand it, do our research, learn about it, ask questions, build a repertoire so that we build up our cultural intelligence, right? So I like you didn't go into that detail, but it's implicit in what you were saying, and I appreciate that. Yeah.
Thank you. I don't know, Debbie, do you want to speak to your comments? Or I could just read it.
No, it's okay. I got it. Just
All
a
right.
second. So I was saying, as a community service provider, we work really closely with Family and Children's Services, and we work really closely in the community. But what's really interesting to me is this framework will really engage and empower families that they're going to go to they're going to go in their community, in their schools and other organizations, and expect to be treated, and they're going to learn that this is the way they should be treated. And how do we help organizations like mine or any other organization that be able to learn from this and support this and really embed this across our community? Because I think it's really critical.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, we want to start a revolution, Debbie. And so this is just a spark of that fire, spark that flame.
Yeah, I have a lot of people on my team who will be very excited to join that flame.
and so, you know, we're starting at home first, and we want to perfect and make sure we have all the pieces in place. You know, we also have equity leads on our team that can speak to some of these things, and we want to share our knowledge and our experience widely with anybody who wants to listen to us, because like I said, you know, our clients intersect with many other resources, and we want to make sure that we can support them. One of the beautiful things that will be happening very soon is that we're looking to hire some folks who will be able to be like community connectors, that if they're involved with us or any other systems, there'll be an individual in the community that's able to help them navigate some of these issues and some of the challenges and the barriers and so forth, who are not employees of the agency. So we want to make that disconnect, but people coming from the community that we support, that will be help family navigate the school system, the police system, the healthcare system, criminal justice system, and all the big systems that we know that have barriers for folks overcoming. And so, you know, we can connect more, Debbie, and we can talk about how can we help support your team and so forth going. So, but yeah, we really believe in this, and it resonates with us. And so I hear what you're saying. Anyone else? If you want to put something in the chat.
There was a comment from Maedith. She just said that this will be life-changing for Black families.
That's what we want. That is what we want. If there's no other comment, I just want to run through some of the outcomes and talk about that. And so please use the Jamboard. I don't know if anybody have used it as yet. Carol, or any other comments you want to make, you can put it in the chat. And so I just want to get into some of this stuff quickly before. All right, you able to see my screen, Carol? Shake your head. All right, awesome. So with the principal now, the other piece of the work that we're doing is that we're developing some tools to help us with the work that we do, because we know that this type of thinking is new to the system, and there will be pushback, and there has been pushback. I won't get into all those details now, but in terms of one of the tools that we're looking to develop is an enhanced service agreement, which we are hoping that a service agreement would avoid some of the, you know, engaging in court. Because a large part of the work that we do, we bring people to court so that we can enforce our will on them, so they could listen to us and do what we do. We're hoping to work in a more collaborative approach, and we're hoping to do like a service agreement, which is more enhanced than what we currently work with. Our status review application, which is what we write up when we go into court to review what's going on with the family and updating the court and making sure that it has some very culturally specific things in there in terms of a challenge in our care. Are we addressing their cultural needs, their spiritual needs, and all the things about the full, you know, totally about the child. Cultural safety plan. We recognize that you know, there's going to be a need for children to come into care, that we have to apprehend some kids. There's a reality that we may have to do something like that. But when we do it, and we know that our foster care system, you know, don't have an abundance of Black foster parents, And so in those occasions where a child is living with somebody who's not of the same culture, a cultural safety plan comes into place where we can really define and write up the things that needs to happen and the things that foster parents need to do to ensure that that child's culture and heritage is adhered to. And a lot of time in the past, you hear the horror stories of kids being in a particular environment and nothing about who they are is ever reflected in anything that they do. And so we want to be very intentional about that. We also want to develop a specialized team to investigate racial violence as an impact on children, meaning that wanting to talk about racism and trauma, and if a caregiver, there are issues of racism in the home of a caregiver, investigating those things, verifying, because we recognize that racism is a form of violence. And when we talk about racism and the trauma of racism, a lot of people don't acknowledge the impact it has on Black bodies. And so what this team, I'm hoping that this team can do is able to do those type of investigation, because they see value in protecting a child from domestic violence, mom or dad hitting each other, and the exposure of that type of violence has an impact on child. But people are not as open to the exposure of racism as a form of violence and being exposed to that and seeing the impact that will have on the child. And so we're here and trying to reteach and for ourselves relearn some things about how we do this work, and really want to center racial violence, because that's the impact it has on a lot of our kids, a lot of our families, and how to navigate that as well. All right. And so just trying to jump quickly in some of the outcomes. I'm going to go through this quickly because I recognize it's 6:53. So with this model, now some of the outcomes we're looking for, that children and youth will remain in their village. We talk about that. Many of you understand the whole village mentality and connection and the beauty of that. Children, we're hoping, our goal is that children not have to come into care. We want to make sure we talk about the kin and what does that mean. We want to recognize the trauma of our young people and of our families. Youth will not transition into independence or out of care until they're ready. Black racialized youth will have an increased opportunities. Black racialized youth will accept their own identity and pride. And I alluded to that when we talk about kids being placed in an environment that doesn't honor who they are. Children and youth will believe in their own possibilities. And this is where these principles come in from. When we're working from that principles where children is concerned, believe in the best of themselves, and helping them unpack that. There are other outcomes that we're looking for that you can see for yourself. Just wanted to highlight a few of that as it relates to Black and racialized children and youth in care. Some other things that we're looking to have improve mental health. We know the stress that families endure when our system gets involved and impacted in mental health. And we don't talk a lot as a system about the mental wellness of our families, particularly when we are involved. And when we separate a child from the family, the impact that has on mom's mental health, the impact it has on a father's mental health, we take it for granted that, or don't take it in consideration what will happen when we remove a child out of the family. So we want to center that and understand that it's a very traumatic thing. It's probably the most traumatic thing that you experience, because our children are oftentimes the most important thing in our life. And when they're taken out of our arms, what happens to you as a parent? Families feel that they have people that believe in them, speaks to the principle, increased sense of belonging. We talk about we want to create community. Families feel that they have a village of support, tapping in and recognizing that village is important to our families. Families have strong support network. This is a large part of the work that we do in talking to our families and building a support network, because we want communities to support families. We don't want to be the be all and end all. And a lot of times, workers become the be all and end all to families. And that's not really our role. That should not be our role. Increased life skills for young people, tapping into that. Families receive support and strength to repair their relationship within their network. When we remove a child out of the home, we know the damage that's done between the relationship between mom, dad, and that child, and wanting to work towards that type of repair, accessing supports for our families and so forth. You can see some of the other outcomes. My apologies if you feel I'm going too fast, but I want to honor the time and create space for more discussion. Outcomes for Black and racialized families receive supports in their language. Like I said to you, the unique thing about our team, the amount of countries that our team represent, and the languages, the amount of language that we speak. We also want to center Black fathers to be active part of service plan. And that's not something that we've done well as child welfare, centering dads into the picture, calling dads into the picture, and creating space for dads into the picture. We don't do well, and particularly even less for Black fathers. And that's why Kwame is working. And when he introduced himself, he Dream House, Young and Potential Fathers. What can we do to help our agency and help our fathers and bring fathers into those conversations? Less intrusion in terms of our approach to the work. Families be able to provide feedback and suggestion to our agency. One of the reasons why we're having this community forum is because we want you to hold us accountable. You've heard all the stuff that I've said. I want to make sure you hold us accountable to do the things that I'm talking about as well. That's why we want to be transparent and share with you, our thoughts on how we want to work. Families will have meaningful role in their decision making. And so these are some of the outcomes that we talk about with regards to family as it relates to the principles from which we want to work from. Black and racialized staff, it'd be amazing, how staff have felt and talk about in terms of their work. I'll pause here for a second and see if any of the staff want to speak to any of this in terms of their experience with regards to the Nguzo Saba and working on the team. Any of the staff that wanted to speak into this.
I'd like to speak, but I don't want to be the first, so.
You're already first because you're talking right now.
Team may know me to be a chatterbox sometimes, but in regards to the 7 principles, some of them in terms of Nia, like purpose and Imani, really resonate for me, and I've seen it. And Ujima, collective work and responsibility. Some of our team members here right now, like Neil and Natalie, are a part of helping to co-manage or work with a family. And it's like 3 staff from our team who are doing the work together. And that's something that I appreciate. There's not enough time for me to share all of the examples in regards to creativity. Natalie, for example, worked with a family over the weekend on Father's Day, yesterday actually, right? And that was something that, Natalie, you seen was needed in meeting the family where they were at with respect to, what our office hours end on Friday at 4 p.m., but you saw that this was a family need at the time, and the creativity. And I've seen these principles come into play, and that our team, in the newness of learning and developing or the service model, or not developing, but learning to incorporate these principles, I've seen members of this team really just jump into it and rock with it in terms of incorporating it and truly working in a holistic manner, and not only focusing on the well-being of children, youth, and families, or children and youth, in which we're mandated as child protection, but looking at the families holistically and incorporating these principles in order to support the families that we serve.
Thank you, Michelle. If anybody else that want to comment or speak into this, I'll give you a space.
Hi, everyone. I will share. The people on my team know this, but for the community members joining us, just a little bit of perspective of what it's like being on the inside of this new model. Clayton's leadership brought language to feelings that we've had, but didn't know how to verbalize. And, born myself in Toronto to West Indian parents, I had told our agency director, Karen, once that I had always felt working in Toronto Children's Aid that my job was to protect families of color from the white lens of discipline that was being, attached to them in my role in child protection. So being in this moment of child welfare, where Clayton said he wants us to be fully who we are and bring everything that we have to our role, it's a true pleasure, and it's a true honor to work with our families from this lens and have the freedom and the permission and the support to do so. So we're heading in the right direction, and it's exciting to be part of it.
Thank you, Natalie. And I'll leave on my screen here in terms of community partners and the accountability piece, because we want to put ourselves in your hands where accountability is concerned, and for you to speak into us when you feel that we're not being accountable to the values and the principles that I'm talking about right now. And so some of the things that you see here in terms of stakeholders, agency accountability for using the model, the benefits of that, working with families, and so forth. So we want you to hold us accountable and challenge you to take that step and speak to me, speak to the team, speak to the supervisors. If there are issues that are going on in community that we're not aware of, know that you have a voice and know that you have the ear of the agency to do so. If you're a family that is not being treated as well as they should because the workers are not employing the principles that we talk about, making that connection and connecting with us about that. That brings me to the end of the presentation. I just want to create some space for more conversation, question, comments, concern. If you're somebody or organization who wants to explore this in more deeper way, in terms of the outcome that we're looking for, feel free to connect with us. All of you have Carol's email, but just generative conversation. Anybody else that's here, feel free to let me hear your voice, your thoughts, feelings about what we said. Is there anything in the chat that we need to talk about? Peter had to go. Thank you, Peter. Anybody here feel that this is not the approach that we should be taking to community? I'm also open to hear that as well. Are there any red flags for folks? See, Danny took himself off mute.
Yeah, no, I'm just excited, Clayton, just like anybody else, because we try to focus on engagement, empowerment, and support. I think the empowerment piece, that is very, very important, particularly when we're dealing with newer immigrants. And whenever we see newer immigrants, if they can't speak the right language with the right accent, it is a deficit. It has been a deficit. We don't give them priority. I think empowering should start from there, to say when someone is trying, because I do challenge my Canadian colleagues, would you go to Africa and start a new language and still survive? You know what I mean? So whenever we say, hey, just because, like this person, his accent is different. One time I got a phone call, just like 2 months or something. I didn't know anything about this person because nobody couldn't understand his accent. They said, okay, let Danny deal with it. And I got a phone call and I try to resolve, but I think it's really important, the empowering piece, dealing with, the newer community, just to add that piece. So,
because thank you, Dan. A lot of new immigrants has been labeled as not being intelligent because they have an accent, because, the worker or the individual not able to communicate as well. And truth is, in fact, that a lot of immigrants that come to Canada is speaking multiple language and are able to articulate multiple of their thoughts and feelings, and so unfairly, a lot of folks have been dismissed and put to the side because of this. And I shared an article the other day with the team with regards to the whole issue of accent and how people are treated in the workplace because they have an accent, and lost opportunities that folks may not get because they have an accent. And certain type of accent is cool and desirable and welcome. Other accents is shunned, not as smart, as intelligent. I see Rose, then Geraldine.
Okay, I'll go first. Thank you so much for this information. I've really learned a lot. It's actually my first time here, and working with an NGO who also have the same mindset as your organization. I think it's one of the problems that we are facing as Blacks. I want to give an example. I have a friend, we are both Ghanaians from the University of Waterloo, and she happened to get a job on campus. So they call, I've forgotten, but it's more like a survey kind of job. So they randomly call people, then they ask questions, they give them a topic. And from the feedback that she keeps giving, like she just wants to quit because of her accent. They treat her badly. They use some abusive words on her, like something like, so it became something that she really got bothered about it. More like she working at a customer care center. And I began to wonder, what is this with this accent that we normally go through it? Like we get stigmatized out there. We are all coming from different backgrounds with different mindset. And the way I speak shouldn't deter you or shouldn't let you have another mind or any perspective about me. You should have to look at the skills or the things that I am bringing on board, but not the way I speak. So it's one of the major problems that we face here. Because I know Canada, that's what I learned before coming here. It's one of the friendliest countries one could ever go to. And to come and go through this, it becomes a bit of a problem to all of us. And I wish that we can get an organization, or like we can collectively come together to let people, especially the Black folks, the immigrants who weren't born here, let them know that no matter how they treat us or anything, we should not forget about our heritage, our culture, where we are coming from. And I think with that, we'll be able to move forward. Thank you.
Thank you, Rose. Appreciate it.
You're welcome.
Geraldine.
Yeah, sorry, I'm still on the road.
No, that's fine.
But first of all, I would like to thank you very much for inviting us to this wonderful meeting. And thank you so much for the presentation. So, you know what? It is wonderful, like you do all this to support our Black families. Thank you so much for what you are doing. And I hope even other agencies will just follow and really be like you, and so that all our Black families in Canada are treated the same.
Thank you. They won't be as good as our team, but we'll make sure we pass it on. Our team is like the best. So KW got it going on, but I don't know about anybody else. But I got you saying, Geraldine. Appreciate it.
Thank you so much.
We have a comment from Ziska. She left, but before she left, she wanted to say that she echoed what other members of the Harambee team have said and appreciate the way the model has empowered staff and allows for creativity. Staff longing for change and being able to do things differently has come to pass. Faith, the possibility and the potential, and what not only families can do, but what workers are able to do when not bound by old ways of doing things. And then she said, thank you, Clayton, and great to see everybody.
Thank you, Ziska. Yvonne, I see your hand.
Yeah, for me, I'm in, but I still see things from outside because like, if you get what I'm saying, I'm in the agency, but I'm seeing this as someone outside of the agency because I'm not in the service team, even though I'm a member, whether you like it or not.
Yes,
but,
you are. We claim you.
What excites me is the commitment and transparency, and the desire to be accountable. Sometimes we have so many passions and there are things that we really want to see done, but without putting ourselves out there and saying that this is what I want to do and I'm ready for you to give me constructive criticism. and guide me in the work I'm doing. It's for me, it's telling me these are people who really want to see this thing come to pass. And I'm excited about it because sometimes we write things and because we keep it personal and to our chest, it never gets anywhere. But if we have someone who will keep watching and making sure that the dreams that we had projected in our writing is also like really translated from our writing into practice, then it is more likely than not that we will achieve even more than we expected. So Clayton, under your leadership, I'm very excited that this is happening. Thank you for putting yourself out there and making the work you are doing transparent. Be sure that I'm your watchdog and I'll continue. At all times, I'll be watching to make sure. I trust your judgment on the work you are doing, but count on me as one of the people who urge you on and encourage you, because I know it's amazing. And it's not just you, I know it's the whole Harambee team. Like
Absolutely.
It's amazing. So thank you for doing this and thank you for carrying the mantle.
Thank you. It's the team. The credit goes to the team. And just to say, for those folks who understand, I will say this: as I speak about these things and I ask community to be accountable, I'm also speaking to our ancestors. I'm also speaking to spirit. And that's where the highest level of accountability is. I'm accountable to my ancestors. They, as far as I'm concerned, they brought me to this place for this time. And I've happened to walk a path that I've gained this knowledge and understanding. And this information is not mine. This is an inheritance that all of us as African people has been given to us by our ancestors. I didn't make any of this stuff up. All the stuff that we talked about here existed in community. I just put it together and recognize that this can be a framework for the work that we do. And it resonates with folks, resonate with our community. And so I speak to my ancestors and give thanks for that journey that has brought me to this understanding and wanting to share that with everybody. Because not only for KW, our community right across Ontario or the rest of Canada is suffering in ways that you would not believe. And so hopefully this will spark something. And like Deb said, spark a revolution type of thing with other agency and so forth. I'm all about the revolution, folks. I'm all about the revolution. All right, I recognize time. It is 7:13. I just want to start to wrap up this conversation and give some folks who have not spoken as yet an opportunity to lend their voice to the conversation. And so I'll pause so that could happen.
Clayton, can I chime in for a second?
Absolutely.
Okay, sorry, I was my daughter I was holding her for a bit, so I got some.
Never apologize to being a daddy, man. Never apologize for being daddy.
Yeah, so I want to echo everything that everybody's been saying in terms of the excitement, and I think there's a new lease of our work life. But to our community members, I think something that I wanted to get across is one of our two child service.
I think you're frozen, Neil. We can't hear you.
Hello?
We can hear you now. Okay, take your camera off. Yeah.
I'll take it off. So what I was just saying is to our community members that are learning and seeing what it is that we're doing today, is for myself and my other colleague that are our two child service workers, is we have to understand that there is a plea to the community that we have to get involved in terms of whether that's the foster system or just the care of our kids, because again, we talk about village and we all believe in the village mentality, but I think sometimes we might not be as aware of the need, because again, we got a lot of our kids that are that come into care, and again, there's great people, but they're not our people that are always attending to them. So again, a lot of the issues that we keep going through, these are not new issues, but we're expecting others to deal with our issues within our communities and things like that. So as somebody that's directly working with our youth when they come into care, I just wanted to express to you guys to seek out the information and ask from us in terms of how you can be involved, because I think when we talk about our kids being in homes that they're not familiar with, and then are constantly being told that they're not good enough, I think that's our responsibility as a community, and that's our responsibility as a village. And please reach out to any of us in terms of how we can facilitate in terms of you being involved. Thank you.
Thank you. Appreciate it. Thanks, Neil. I'm going to call names. Megan, I don't know if you want to have anything to say, because I'm just like that. Just going to call names. Just say anything you want to say, the voice.
Oh, sure. I just honestly, all I have to say right now is just thank you for this presentation and the deep explanation of this model. It's so amazing and exciting and just revitalizing. And I know at our place, we're really looking forward to walking alongside you with it. So thank you.
Awesome. Thank you for coming. Dr. Hogarth, I'm calling you out, or in, as some folks would say. And any comments, and that I'll give you the last comment before we just wrap up and go.
Yeah, I think it's a great model. I've heard the brief presentation before this one, so really appreciate the presentation and the model, and truly look forward to the kind of impact it will have in community with families, and hopefully we can see, as we see impact, we can see change across the system for all families involved. So thank you.
Awesome. And hold us accountable. I know you have a close partnership with our agency and the history of the agency, and you know the depth of where we're coming from, and the issue of white supremacy, colonialism, and racism runs deep within our own agency, and that's no secret. I'm not bad-mouthing our agency. And so we are recovering from that. And this is one of the ways we can recover and move forward, but not everybody's on board. And so we're going to be hitting our heads against the different systems and our colleagues and folks, and but I'm hopeful that we're able to push through. Anyone else wants to say something before we wrap up? Anybody going once, twice? All right. I just want to say thank you very much. This work has been a passion of mine, been in this field for 20 years plus. And this is the first time I'm feeling myself liberated to think and be creative and be outspoken and be bold about what our family needs and what we can do to meet those needs. And I encourage everyone, including particularly the team that I work with, to follow my lead. Our ancestors has given us this, and I'm one who believes, as deeply in our ancestors and my own purpose, and then also that we're called here for purpose together to work alongside each other. It's by no accident that all of us are here, and working the way we want to work, and a desire to do so, to see our community flourish and do well. And I want to say a big, massive thank you for all of you for taking a chance on me to listen to me, and I can't be a leader if you're not following, and so you made me the leader by responding to me, and the more you respond, the more I'll give, because that's what energizes me. And so thank you. By no means that we are perfect. I see your hand, Kathy. No, by no means that we have it all together as a team. We have a lot of work to do as a team and stuff that we need to figure out. But when we say Harambee, that means something. We're all pulling together in spite of whatever challenges. And Dr. Kathy wants to have the last word, and I'll give it to her.
I'm sorry, it's something you said that just triggered a memory for me. Today is a significant day for many of our brothers and sisters to the south of us. Mostly it's Juneteenth.
Juneteenth, yes.
And the significance of Juneteenth for those mostly in the US is about freedom. Freedom from oppression, freedom from oppressive systems, a slave system that enslaved not only our bodies, but our minds. And I say oftentimes, we are still in the process of freedom. Freedom is coming tomorrow. Today, we still remain unfree. as long as our children remain disproportionately represented in our foster care system, we still remain unfree. As long as our Black men and women remain disproportionately represented in our prison systems, we still remain unfree. And as long as our Black blood continues to be shed openly, hunted openly in the streets, we still remain unfree. And so I think of this work here and what we are trying to accomplish, what you're trying to accomplish through this work here. For us, it's a nod, it's a movement towards the freedom we are hoping to achieve tomorrow, while we still remain in many ways shackles, in the remnants of an oppressive system. So I say that to acknowledge the significance of the day and an inspiration for the hope tomorrow, because we still fight for freedom from oppressive systems, including child welfare, right? And we must be able to speak of our systems in a critical way, or else we won't be able to change it. So thank you for that.
All I'm going to say is Ashe. We thank ancestors for being here. I thank you for the spirit, the vibration, the openness to share the vulnerability, release our ancestors from here. And I thank all of you for staying with us and joining us for this session. And so have a pleasant, get lots of rest, go have your dinner now. And we'll talk soon. All right, take care.
Thank you.
Thank you so much. Bye, everyone.
Bye.
Yeah, see you. Have a good night. Take care.